Hi, everyone, and welcome to this episode of the Romance Class podcast. Romance Class is a community of Filipino authors of romance in English. Since 2013, our community has helped over 80 authors publish over 100 books. We also have a podcast, which is what you're watching or listening to right now, and it has been a space to explore more of what we can do with the books and what we can discuss with the authors. This podcast is produced by Mina V. Esguerra and Tanya Arpa and is part of the Frolic Podcast Network. My name is Mina V. Esguerra, and I will be hosting the episode today. This is episode 3 of season 4 of the Romance Class podcast. This season, we will be talking to romance class authors and maybe readers and editors and artists too about the tropes that we look for in books and media and how these tropes influence our work. Before we start, we would like to remind everyone to subscribe to our channel on YouTube. Head over to kilig.pub/YouTube, hit the subscribe button, and also click on the bell to be notified when a new video is coming up. This episode is about fan fiction. In the romance class community, there are actually many authors and readers of fan fiction from all sorts of fandoms and platforms across the years. And though we have our panel today, we encourage our audience currently in the chat to answer the same questions given to the guest authors, and we will read some of them to you. One of the absolutely interesting discoveries I stumbled into as I watched this community grow over time is seeing the different influences each author brings to their book. If you know fanfic, you see it. I'll start with my story so I can get that out of the way and let our guests share theirs later. The first fanfic I ever read, without yet knowing what it was called, was a steamy Brenda and Dylan in the car scene written by my kabarkada on a sheet of paper, literally in her trapper keeper. That sheet of paper got passed around in class like you wouldn't believe. Brenda and Dylan are from 90210. The next one I read was something called The Rosebud Conspiracy, a Mulder Scully romance fic by author Paula Graves. Uh, it was a text file printed on paper, uh, given to me by my college friend who was also an X-Files fan and a Mulder Scully shipper. That was when I learned that I loved competence, banter, UST, unresolved sexual tension, and resolving the ST. When I tried writing fanfic, I did that years later for the Buffy, the Vampire Slayer, and Angel the Series fandoms. I wrote Mary Sue style fic, apparently. New character joins the gang, helps fight demons, solves supernatural crimes. When I tried writing a multi part series, I drew inspiration from the gaps between seasons and characters who never got enough screen time. I was not at all popular, but I treasured every review and every like. This writerly journey is different for everyone, and eventually I decided that fic was just a thing that I would read and not write. My first published book was released 6 years after I posted my last fanfic. I felt that last fic was the best one though, so I felt like I had graduated. Sorry, I won't tell you what it is and where it is. In this episode, we have guest authors talking about their experience with fanfic and how it connects, if at all, to their author journey. Welcome to the podcast, Carla de Guzman, Chiyu Rodriguez, Celestine Trinidad, and Chris Mariano. Hi, everyone!
Hello.
Hello!
Hi. Hello, everyone.
Hi, everyone.
So we have these authors, and I understand definitely people in the chat, people who are watching, and people who will be listening to this have so much history with fanfic, are currently involved in fanfic. I know we can't fit everyone in this panel. We invite you to discuss as much as you can in the chat. We will invite you to discuss more in the Discord server, which Romance Class has. And now I will ask our guests to introduce themselves. So when you introduce yourself, please mention your relationship with fanfic, what you do with fanfic, and what fandoms you are part of. And if you are comfortable, you choose how much you will disclose, okay? We will let you be vague if you want to be vague. That's all. Can we start with Chiu Rodriguez?
Why? Also, I just realized lahat pala kami C. Except for Mina.
Apparently,
Except
also
for Mina. Anyway, hi. Hi, my name is Chiyu Rodriguez. I think the first fanfic I ever read was an NSync fanfic. It was also a Mary Sue type, apparently, fanfic where new girl works with a band, travels with a band, stuff like that. So I also wrote for the NSYNC fandom, Lord of the Rings, Harry Potter, Teen Wolf, Coffee Prince, American Idol, specifically season 8, but most of my work is actually in the K-pop fandom, primarily TVXQ, pre-split, Super Junior, SHINee, FX, and a lot of crossovers within their friends in K-pop, of course, and most recently BTS, but only a handful, and they have not seen the light of day. I only show most of them to my best friend. Um, and yeah, I read and write mostly AU. That's how uh, that's what I like for the most part. AU, which is alternate universe. So yeah, that's me. Oh, I also wrote Live Journal was my main platform at the time. Hey.
thank you, Chi, for that sharing a lot of fandoms and also where you posted, which is more than what I did. Thank you. How about you, Carla?
Hi, my name is Carla de Guzman. I think the very first fanfic, I'm sure that the very first fanfic I read was A Walk to Remember, a fanfic of A Walk to Remember, and I remember thinking it was real. Like, I didn't know what fanfic was, so I legit thought it was the story of the year in end of the between the end of the movie where Landon and Jamie get married, and then because Jamie has cancer, eventually she passes away. So the story was the year in between that, and it was in a GeoCity site, and I thought it was legit until someone pointed out, no, there's a disclaimer on top. Like, I do not own these characters. The story is not real. It's not real. So from there, I moved on to YuYu Hakusho fanfiction, where I found out the joys and wonders of a yaoi pairing. Kurama and Hiei stands high. I was there too. Then from there, I was in the Twilight fandom for a while. Like there's a particular site called Twilighted where I would post before. Which fun fact, that was also where Fifty Shades of Grey first got written. So I remember seeing the chapters of 50 Shades getting uploaded, but it was not the most popular fic at the time. Wink, wink. Um, after Twilight, I also wrote. I also read a lot of Teen Wolf fan fiction because Steric was my ultimate pairing. Yes. Also, Scott, Allison, and Isaac, my
Yeah.
first and only threesome couple. And then from there, there was like a gap in the crossover between fanfiction.net, Twilighted, and Archive of Our Own. um, there was also the time I was very into Doctor Who, specifically season 4, Doctor and Donna. And there was also a time I was very into We Got Married, uh, Younghwa and
Yes.
Soyeon. Yes, they were my favorite, and I used to write fic for them. And then after that, in more recent years, when the Star Wars sequel trilogy started, that's when I really got into Reylo. I am um, I am a huge Reylo fan. I still read a lot of their fics, but mostly alternate universes for some reason. I like that. And now I'm also reading, because of the Final Fantasy VII remake game, I'm reading a lot of Cloud and Tifa fanfiction. But I'm weird because what trope I enjoy per couple depends on the couple. Like for Reylo, I like an AU. For Cloud and Tifa, I like it in universe. And right now, I'm also reading a lot of Zutara fanfic. So from the Avatar, the Last Airbender series, Zuko and Katara are my current like reads. Like literally was reading last night. And so yes, my history with fanfiction is long and a very dependent relationship on fanfic. But I did write for Raylo, but secret na lang what my name is. Okay, next.
Thank you, Carla. Next,
Oh my gosh.
you, Chris.
Sure. Hi, my name is Chris. I wrote Cover Story Girl, which is a romance class title. My other works appear in various romance class anthologies, the most recent of which was the Tropetastic Kindness Bundle. Um, yeah. My first brush with fanfic was really when my cousin's neighbor told me that Peter Venkman got married to Janine Melnitz, and and she swore this up and down. She said this was true, and I was an Egon Janine shipper, and this is all for the real Ghostbusters, the original Ghostbusters, which is an old cartoon series. I could not believe it, but I kept that thought in my head, like, and up until now, I still remember the outrage I felt when somebody told me my ship didn't make it. But that never happened. They never get together. So it was years after when I realized that she was talking about fan fiction. I started reading fan fiction through the Gossamer Project, which was an old X Files archive, and this was when a lot of the fan fiction for X Files came out on Usenet communities, Angel Fire. GeoCities communities. And then there's this big archive called the Gossamer Project, and I read copious amounts of fan fiction there. But I first started writing fan fiction for the Extreme Ghostbusters in various websites. And in around 2002, I started writing through fanfiction.net. My author name, my fanfic name is Demented Chris. Um, and I wrote for various anime, including Fruits Basket, Yori Dango, Rurouni Kenshin, Bleach, Full Metal Alchemist. It was anything that I could think of that I really wanted to write for. I wrote, I wrote for, and then around after a while I moved on to AO3, Archive of Our Own, and that's where I have a bunch of stuff under Star Wars and Zootopia. um, and I also read tons of fan fiction for fandoms I don't write for, including Lord of the Rings, Game of Thrones, um, Agents of Shield, Final Fantasy, Inception, and even K-pop. So there.
Thank you, Chris. That is a lot.
That's
And
him.
from Angel Fire all the way.
Sorry,
Oh,
it
yeah.
betrays my age.
The history
We've
of
all been there, Chris.
Yeah.
and Zootopia. As in Zootopia,
Yeah.
anime.
My fic was one of the first in AO3. So
I love it.
one of my claim to
Love it.
fames.
Yay.
Okay, next up, Celestine.
Hi, so I'm Celestine Trinidad, and for original fiction, I wrote Ghost of a Feeling for Romance Class, and my relationship with fanfic started in 2001 when I posted my very first fanfic on fanfiction.net. So at the time, I was really active in the YuYu Hakusho fandom. So my friend and I ran a site on GeoCities too. That's Shall We Dance? It's a Koen Mabotan fan site, and yeah, and I also wrote
I think I've been there. Oh
fanfics
my
for
god.
that. Yeah. Oh, really? Yeah. And
I remember.
So I posted a bunch of fics there, mostly Koen Mabutan fics, but I also had a Kurama fic pairing him up with an original character who is not me, definitely. And also wrote for other pairings. I think I also wrote Hige Mokuro and the canon ones like Yusuke Keiko and the like. Then my next big fandom was Naruto because I absolutely loved Naruto Hinata and I would die for that couple. So I wrote a bunch of fics for them, and so I was very active in that fandom then. Through the years, I've written some fics, mostly drabbles because that's all I had time for in medical
Same.
school. So there's this community in Live Journal, 31 Days community, where they post a prompt for the day, and then you can post a fic for that day. And it was really nice because I was able to have a lot of ideas because of their prompts. So I wrote for a
Yes.
lot of other fandoms during that time. So Rurouni Kenshin, Bleach, and I was looking at my fic list, and it turned out I was even writing for the Old Kingdom trilogy by Garth Nix, Chronicles of Prydain by Lloyd Alexander, even a Sherlock Holmes fic, as in the original Sherlock Holmes fic. So yeah, and the last fanfic I wrote, that's on AO3 now, is Trece fic about the Kambal when they were young.
Kambal!
So yeah,
Sorry.
and yeah, so and my fic name is my fanfic writer name is Lucky Chan. Still, also my Twitter handle, so I'm not hard to find. So yeah, and I haven't written fanfic in quite a while though, but I do want to get back to it because I miss that feeling of writing fanfic.
Thank you, Celestine. So that's everyone sharing their history. And so, can somebody, I have a question. Can somebody define drabble?
Oh, we used to do that before. Also, like we call it flash fix.
Yeah.
At the time when I was still in Live Journal, so like it's mostly fic that's can start like around 100 words to maybe 300 words long. That's it's never longer than 1,000 words. At least from my experience in those flash fic communities. That's why I'm used to writing like only 80 to 100 words.
Yeah.
Fanfiction.
I
They're
understand.
really short.
So when I think if somebody who happens to be like the few people who are listening to this have absolutely no idea what fanfic looks like. Some of them are really really long, like thousands upon thousands of words
100K.
100,000 words,
and
a
hundreds
million words.
of
Yeah.
and uh and some of them are really short. So I think yeah, when I was doing fanfic, it was called flash fiction, or
Yeah, flash fic.
I think in some places it's called a one shot. So
Yeah.
Yes.
it's just a really quick scene. Don't expect anything more than this.
One shots were usually longer, like when I was
Yeah.
still active, like
A
usually
single chapter.
1,500. Yeah, like a single
Mm.
chapter, 1,500 and up. Like yeah, Drabos like less than
Shorter.
1,000.
Maybe less than 1,000 or
100 from 100
100.
words to
From
less
100.
than 1,000 words. Drabos.
Yeah.
Thank you so much to everyone joining the chat right now. Yes, please answer the same questions that I'm asking the guests. Share as much as you want or as little as you want. So before we continue, I'd just like to say that we may talk about mature and sensitive content in this podcast. So if you're continuing to listen or watch, please be aware. And when we edit this for the podcast, we may put warnings in case there are certain topics that are mentioned, just so you know and you're aware. Okay, let's go on to our pro and panel. So my first question is easy lang. Favorite trope? Can you name a favorite trope that you
One
would
lang.
Oo nga, one lang.
One lang.
stay here
How?
all day,
See
all
us
night?
when
You will have to prioritize.
Yar.
Oh no!
Pero one lang talaga, seryoso? Oh, wait lang.
One or two.
One or two.
like a favorite child.
My God.
So I will start. So this is what we'll do. I will start, and whoever wants to continue with the question, just speak up or raise your hand, and then I'll prompt you. But so my favorite all the time is really apparently Mary Sue. So I did that, and did not realize until later when I started reading reviews that it got flack for things. And so much has been written about the Mary Sue character, but that's what I like to write. And actually, that's what sort of clued me into the idea that I might not be writing fanfic for very long, because I actually like creating a character that was sort of outside all of these established characters, and I was also like almost creating my own version of things. So yeah, and that's why I feel like it wasn't popular at the time, but I was really using the space to explore. So that's my answer, the Mary Sue. Anyone wants to step up? What's your
Think
favorite?
about my answer
I
now.
think I can pick two favorite tropes.
Okay, Chris. Chosen your
I guess what I like most of the tropes that I like are tropes that I find really hard to write myself, and I guess that's why I like them. Um, my one of my favorites includes the fake relationship, fake marriage, contract relationship kind of trope. Wait, see, I put them all together in one. So, um, but that's one of my favorites, and another is the more like an epistolary type. Now we get a lot of Twitter tweet fix, I guess. Where it's just like a back and forth of these characters. And I like reading those things. I guess what I like about it is when, especially if there's a bonus of somebody who with a hidden identity, somebody who knows the other person that they're texting or they're messaging or writing to, the other one is totally in the dark. I kind of like that because I guess I really like how um, you have a preconceived notion of this person, and then the relationship and how the relationship develops is suddenly turned on its head because of this other connection that happens through letters or text. Yeah, so those are my favorites.
Thank you, Chris.
Uh, I think
Yes,
I think I have. I think I have a blanket trope, like for all the tropes I like, I guess. But I like reading and writing angst, I guess, and mutual
You need to laugh
pining,
after.
angst and mutual pining. Hurt, comfort, that type of stuff. Um,
so pain.
pain.
She
I
likes
like pain. In fanfic, it's a different world. But yeah, I think that I read a lot of that. I guess the type of pain that's like worth it in the end, kind of like that. Ganun lang. Next.
I have an answer, but it's cheating.
Carla.
My answer is that my favorite trope varies per fandom. It really depends on which fandom I'm reading. So, like, for example, right now I'm reading Avatar and the Last Airbender. So, for that couple in particular, for that fandom, I like royal political dramas, like when it's really long and it's mired in politics and like what should we do because this is what's going on. I love it so much. It's really I really like it, and especially when there's an arranged marriage. Oh my gosh, it just makes my heart race. I like it so much, but then I don't like that in different fandoms. So it really depends which fandom I'm reading. Like the arranged marriage thing also works with Raylo. I've seen it done really well, but for others not so much. So it really depends. Ta-da! It's a cheating answer, but it depends on the fandom.
Thank you, Carla.
E- uh, I was thinking about what trope I like. My favorite ship dynamic is, I know, love hate. Talaga. It's either enemies or rivals to lovers. Especially, this is one of my this is a very specific type of fic that I like. When two people who say they don't love each other or hate each other, then one gets hurt and the other one gets goes berserk and realizes that they actually love that person. So I really like that
Dying
dynamic. So
noises. Dying noises.
Thank you. I understand. Yes. I understand though, because for me, like what we like to read, like what I like to read from X Files was definitely like just a continuation of how they would banter. But I actually liked watching the show for the relationship, for the shipping, and I never got enough of it in the series. And that's why I went to fic to read all of that. And yeah, so those are just a few. So again, if you're listening, those are just a few, like scratching the surface of what fanfic is able to do. Just to just just the surface of what each fic is doing for each fandom, and just a little bit of
True.
what is out there. So we just don't have enough time. So just a
We can
little
talk
bit.
about this all day.
We could, without
But we're
revealing
not going to.
identities on our part, but
But we're not going to. But we can.
We have some questions. So we selected some questions that we collected from the internets, from people who ask questions. But I would like to focus first on this part of the program, to how having written fic and reading a lot of fanfic affected you, our guests, in your journey toward being published authors yourselves and writing original fiction. So I guess before you started thinking about uh, publishing or writing your own fiction, did you see anything different about success in fanfic versus success in original fic?
Wait, sorry. I just need to address Denise.
Denise, how dare you?
Girl, that was PWP was on my list. Okay, but I had to choose just one. You have to understand. We were made to
From the
choose.
chat section.
We were
There are
made to choose.
limitations in the
Okay.
question.
There
We
were
could not
limitations, but that was
accommodate.
on my list. I just need to say that.
Can I
Okay, carry on.
Can I just say though, Mina sent us questions, and then this is the only one where I actually had an answer written down, and these are all the tropes that I was
I
going
had
to
a
say,
long
and then
list.
suddenly she said one or two. I okay.
Okay.
OMG.
Chris, sige, I will not interrupt you. Please read your list.
No, it's okay. No,
One by one,
Naman na.
slowly. We have time.
It's
Go.
okay. It's okay. It's just so funny. I wrote everything down. I was like, just like,
And then post
It's
them
okay.
somewhere online so
Yeah,
that
yeah.
we can discuss your trope list. Okay.
Okay,
So,
success.
Before we head on to the questions lang, can I ask how you felt like being successful in fanfic versus being successful in original fic? Like, yeah.
I don't.
Go, Chi. Ikaw na muna.
No, because I was thinking. I don't know. I wasn't also. Hindi din man. I wasn't really popular then when I was writing fanfic. I was most active in the K-pop fandom, like I said. But at that time, I felt so fulfilled. I guess so. That was my measurement of success. Like getting comments on my fic, like the whole, because there's always this banter, like, what the hell did you do? Like, why do you make me feel this way? Something like that. How dare you? Yeah, how dare you? Stuff like that. It's so fulfilling. Like the comments in fanfic that I kind of, it's kind of, although we get like book reviews and stuff for original fiction and the stuff we write, it was different. I guess it was like so exciting back then to be getting comments. Even now, I have a steric fic on AO3 that I wrote years ago that's still getting kudos to this day. Like I'm getting
Palink
email
naman
notif
yan, oh.
email no email notifications for the steric fics that I wrote. I'm like, wow, we're still alive. The show was over like
What
forever ago. What?
what Derek?
Oh, steric.
Oh
Sorry,
God.
steric.
Teen Wolf, right? That's Teen Wolf.
Steric. Yeah,
It's Teen Wolf,
steric
yeah.
Teen Wolf. It's Styles and Derek. It's a sun moon ship dynamic, which is also one of my favorites. But yeah, so for me back then I felt successful enough to have so many people commenting on my fic saying that they like it, like, and we have conversations about what I did, but exactly what I did. It's different from now in books, even though there are reviews, because I guess it's like the whole theater movie thing where in theater you get instant gratification because you get the reactions of the audience, but if you're in a movie, like, it's not as immediate and as immediately impactful, I guess. So yeah, that was I just like the response, the immediate response to my fic was my measurement of success back then. Carry on. Next.
Yeah, actually, I would like to add to that because the way I see it, I wasn't really a very popular fanfic writer even then. Parang moderate to lang na popularity. So,
Moderate. Parang
just moderate.
ramen flavor lang.
Parang may okay lang, ganyan lang. Yeah, and even in original fiction, ganyan din naman. So it's not a really big shift in terms of, say, popularity. But what I noticed though when I first started writing original fiction, it felt like when people were commenting on my work, were reading my work, it felt like they were commenting more on the style, the substance, rather than the story, the characters, and I kind of missed that when that feeling from fan fiction when you write something and what people comment on is what it made them feel, it what how they
Yes.
cared about the characters there.
Yeah.
So and that was something that I had to shift to later on. But then being in writing romance now, though, it feels like something like that again, that people actually comment again on how they feel about their characters. So it was a nice feeling. So that was kind of my journey along the way.
Thank you. I think so. I mentioned in my intro that I actually think a lot when I read a lot of romance class books. I kind of feel the fic um, history behind certain books. I don't know. It just seems like I can see where you came from almost. So that's really fascinating to me, and I think it shows up. But yeah, what's happening is it's like we are presenting our stories without the additional context that the fan fiction world was giving us, like where everyone knew what we were talking about, everyone knew the characters already,
Yeah.
and then suddenly, yeah, these people are talking about other things about the story, and not exactly the things that we were that another audience would have picked up, except if you read fic and that particular kind of fic. Okay. Does anyone have anything to add about that? I can move on to the next item. Okay. So the next item is so you were writing fanfic, or maybe you are still writing fanfic, and then you became and then you were publishing original fiction. What tips can you share to a writer who is about to go through that or is going through that, just based on what you learned? So me, a thing that I will probably share is it feels like, related to what I just said, it feels like building an audience from the ground up. What I didn't realize, because my first book was set in the Philippines, in Manila, and it how strange the feeling of like building world building the Philippines into into your book, and not just throwing it out and everyone understanding what it meant. To this day, it's only a very specific audience who can really pick up one of my original fic books and know exactly what everything looks like, and all the places, and every single reference. So I think that's it. You kind of have to step back now and realize that the audience is probably bigger and will not understand a lot of what what you're trying to describe. So you have to be aware of it. So that was interesting to me, and I think something that you can think about when you write, when you transition maybe, or just start writing original fic, if you wrote fanfic. Anyone else have a tip?
I will share that I think my main advice for that kind of thing is to keep reading both. Continue your long-standing relationship with both. Like, don't drop one just because you're starting the other, because it's like you're closing yourself off from your own origin story if you do. Um, like what Mina said, it is hard to like start from the ground up and like build a whole world all by yourself. But I feel like if fanfic really taught you the basic building blocks of that, especially if you write AUs. So I think the more you read both, the more you kind of see the difference and can transition better. I definitely think that since I still read fanfic and just stopped writing recently, um, staying on both really helped me grow as an author for original fiction, and specifically for fanfic. I just do whatever I want and I'm happy. So that kind of mindset where you're growing at the same time. Yeah, that's
Thank you,
yeah, read
Carla.
fanfic. It's fun.
Read all the fic. Read it
Yeah,
all.
and read all the fics.
A comment from the
Okay.
chat from Paula. Don't drop one because you're starting the other. I feel validated.
Yes,
Yes.
girl.
True.
Only.
Why not both? Yeah.
Yeah. Have it all.
Ako, in a way, I was the reverse because um, I was writing other fics before I got into fanfic. Yeah, I was writing other,
Original
yeah,
fiction, you mean?
Original.
yeah,
Yeah. Okay.
yeah. Yep, there. Yeah, it's kind of hard to to say it. Anyway, um, but I think one, yeah, for me it was kind of a reverse. But I think had it gone the other way and I was writing fan fiction first, I think one good piece of advice that I would give would be think about what good fanfic means to you. I mean, what do you like about fanfic? I have, for me personally, what um good fanfic is when the fic itself helps me arrive at some insight about the fandom or about the characters, and it's usually because the writing showed the characters in a different light, or there was a missing scene that bridged all these plot holes, or there's just it was a fic that immersed myself so seamlessly into this world that I already love, and it makes me feel that's part of canon. I think when you zero in on something like that, like something something amazing about the fic that you write, the fic that you enjoy reading, you can bring that into whatever you write. So, but then keep in mind, oh, if you like this because of the characterization, then take that into your original fiction. Or if you like this one because of the world building that you added into the original canon, then bring that world building skill that you've kind of developed through fan fiction into your original fiction. Yeah, that's just me though.
Thank you, Chris. Does anyone have anything to add? Because that's actually a good segue to the next topic, which is share a tip that you learned from fanfic that's still useful to you today in writing original fic. We've
Uh,
heard
uh,
Chris's.
I remember on fanfiction.net there used to be writing tips. There was a section there for writing tips, and there's this particular article that I really remember. It's called "Fear Not Said." That's why I remember it's about using the word "said." When describing dialogue, for example, Leslie said or Mina said, yeah,
Mhm.
there, and instead of using other words such as stated, opined, yeah, because readers usually skim over the word said, and what would jar them actually and sound awkward would be words, the synonyms for the word said, and that has stuck with me because sometimes there are writing advice that says the opposite, that you have to use synonyms, but that's actually true. That you really, it's really okay to use the word said, and that's a very specific writing tip that I picked up from fanfiction.net of all places.
Thank you, Celestine, and thank you, fanfiction.net, and the author of that article. I do follow that. I do follow. I don't know. I don't even know where I picked that up, but yes, I don't
Mm.
fear said. I did pick that up. Uh, I'll share something. The thing that I mainly picked up from fanfic that I carry over to writing original fiction is imagining that these characters existed before I started writing them. I
Mm.
I I almost try to I prepare. That's why I outline and I prepare character like things to the point, not a lot, but just enough for me to think that I'm writing characters from an existing series, and I'm just picking items from their lives and deciding to tell the story right now. So that to me, it sort of removes the pressure of having every single thing on the page, actually,
Mm.
even if you think, because that's I think when we do romance class and we start with a new batch of authors, there's so much going on. Like in the early stages of writing, I noticed that everyone creates all these histories and they try to put everything in the book. And actually, I have to tell them that, you don't have to. You can leave that for like your series Bible, or your you can leave that for like your planning. It's like part of the series that you're writing fic for, but it's you made it, so you don't have to put everything just yet. You can keep a few things out there unsaid. So yeah, that's my tip. Anyone else have a tip?
There's one in the
I,
comments.
yeah,
Characterization is important,
important. I was gonna
and I
dig
agree.
that from there. I
Yeah,
agree also. There's a
Thank
lot
you
to
for the
learn.
comment
There's
from
a
Comic
lot to
Con.
learn from fanfic about characterization because I know I think most fanfic writers don't even realize how much they get from their characters. Like we learn a lot of characterization just from basing our fic from how this character from this series or this show is, or how this person seems to be in real life. Like taking all those influences, those little things, because sometimes it's so satisfying as a reader to read a fanfic and then see those little those
Yeah.
little details about that character or that person that makes perfect sense. It's so
yeah,
amazing. So I think there's a lot there that we can take from writing fanfic to writing your original fiction, which I guess it also relates to what Nina said. The whole thing about when she writes her original fiction right now, na her characters have their backstory that's not in the book, because that's a great place to take to get influence on how you're gonna um execute your characters behaviors and their traits in your original fiction.
yeah. There's
Thank
there's a
you, Chi.
usual there's a usual disclaimer in some fanfics, especially in the early days, where an author would say, "Sorry if my characters are OC, so out of
Yeah.
character."
Out
And
of
that
character.
always, yeah, that always kind of bugged me because, like, why are you writing a character that is not in character. So I think that's one of the biggest lessons I've learned writing fan fiction is how to keep a character consistent across different universes. If that makes sense. Like if you're writing Raylo in a coffee shop, flower shop, alternate universe, they still have to be Ray and
Raylo.
Ben. But
I'm sorry,
but they
you have to tell me what Raylo is. You have to tell.
For the benefit of
For
everyone,
the
please
benefit
explain
of
what
everyone
Raylo is.
listening, what is
for the
Raylo?
benefit of the group. Good Lord, Raylo is Kylo Ren and Rey from the Star Wars sequel trilogy universe. And for this pairing in particular, I like it when they're in alternate universe scenarios. So one of the more popular alternate universe scenarios for them, for this particular couple, is the coffee shop AU, or the flower shop that is always next to a tattoo shop for some reason.
For some reason, there's a ton of those things.
love that so much. I love that
Two
so much.
stars in particular. And the context is that they are not in space. There is no force. There is no Jedi, whatever. They're just normal
But they're
people
still
living-
them.
But it's still them. Like the author manages to make like a whole backstory that makes perfect sense in the context of those two characters. So yeah,
I love
that's the
that so
biggest lesson I've learned from
That's
fanfic.
the best.
That ability.
Thank you, Carla. Any other tips that you can share? I'm gonna move on to I think the last question in our prepared program, and then we'll go to the Twitter questions next.
Oh no. Joke lang. Kidding.
So the last question for our program is: at the end of the day, is everything fanfic? I will answer first. Yes. Some more than others. I think some I've written a bunch of books. Some are probably more obvious about that than others. Yeah. but again, it's because again, as somebody who wasn't very popular in writing fanfic, but used that as practice anyway, there is no other way for me to go. It feels like a natural progression for me, and it feels to me like it's still an effective way to write characters that people will root for and people will feel are real, and people will feel existed somewhere. But that's, you don't have to agree with me. You can have your own answer and deny everything. What's your answer, panel?
No, I agree. I totally agree.
Totally
with you.
agree.
Everything is writing original fic, like for books, is just fanfic but with 100 times more pressure.
True.
Which is why it's easier for me to write fanfic than it is for me to write a whole book. There's just more pressure there, but it's just fanfic. It's especially since we do all these things with the pegs, with the character pegs and everything. And our whole topic before this about characterization, like when you have this peg of a person that actually exists, especially if it's a celebrity, you unconsciously also base some of the characteristics of your original character from that peg. So it's fanfic, guys. Stop denying it. Let's just be honest with ourselves. It's still fanfic. There's just more pressure.
Thank you, Chi said it.
And
Love you guys.
I've been thinking.
Walang
and I've been
end to
thinking that.
contribute.
Yes, Celestine.
I've been thinking that even if you base things on real life, I mean, I do that. I base story events on people in real life, on myself. Like it's also like writing fanfic of real life, something like that. And I've been saying that my romance novels are fix of my own love life.
I love how we're being honest.
yourself. I like that.
I love how we're being so honest in this part. This is a safe space. I love you all.
I will step in and define fix it fic. Because I relate to fix it fix. That is exactly what I'm doing in but not, of course, with the caveat, just saying that if you write a lot of books, eventually it will stop being your life that you're writing a fix it for, right? You start. So I think it was my third book when I actually thought of a friend's, no, sorry, it was my second book. It was my second book that I thought of a friend's real life situation with her permission and fixed it. Like fixed because again, we're writing romance, and you know what that means. We have to write a happy ending for our characters, and that kind of gave me another uh that kind, okay, so I wrote that was satisfying, and then I thought of another situation I could fix in fiction, and that became my third book. And it I think it's a legit and valid way to write. Somebody is actually in the comments mentioning actual things. The comment. I will read this out loud. Fairy tale fail from the comments from Layla, who is my editor. Hello. Fairy tale fail the scene in the church. Yes, it's true. But anyway, let's move on. Let's move on. Does anyone else have an answer to, at the end of the day, is everything fanfic?
I can't remember who said this, but I think it was Alyssa Cole. She had this article where she was saying that romance justice, or like you get this when you read romance, and for romance in particular, the intersection between that and fan fiction is so um, intrinsic because you get to imagine like happy endings for your characters, like regardless of how they ended in canon. Who cares about canon? Like,
Nobody.
so
Who is she?
yeah, exactly. Who's canon? We don't know her. Nobody died.
Thank you, Carla. Okay, I think we can move on to the questions that we got on Twitter. Can we have the first one? Question. What was the worst author feedback or comment you received for any fic you wrote? And how did it impact you as a fan, as a writer? I will start. Somebody said, see, again, I'm saying I didn't even get a lot of comments and I didn't get a lot of reads, but somebody said, this would never happen. He would never do this. and and that stuck with me for the longest time because it was true, I guess. Like I had written something that I felt was like giving, it was like a minor character that I gave an entire story to. And as what happens when you make somebody a main character when they weren't, you add a lot of things and you make them suddenly like a main character, and it looks like some people just can't do that shift. And yes, I realized that was one of those moments. The impact for me is I realized that, this is something that I guess there's like a switch there that, yeah, okay, we can take that as feedback and then focus on more popular characters, on the main characters, and really work on getting them right. Or, I'll just focus on my little known ship here. And ship
Rare
meaning
pairs for the
relationship.
win.
Rare pair.
Rare pairs for the win.
Rare pair, or like ship meaning relationship. Uh and just I can focus on that and give them like interesting things and to do that the show never gave them. And but that sort of fed into like, why are you interested in the people that nobody actually have that much history or knowledge about? And yeah, that's why that's why I ended up thinking more and more about writing original fic. So whether it was hurtful or not at the time, it actually led to decisions that I made. So there's a comment from Comic Ninja. Why is that person canon police? I know. I was young. And
I
I
love
really
I love rare pairs, so I'm offended also on
On
your
your
behalf.
behalf.
If I'm a rare pair ship, I like a lot of rare pairs.
but
Then I
this is a space, right, where everyone can read like a whole lot of things. Uh
yeah.
and it'll be like about the most obscure thing. And you know what? Like, you didn't pay for this. Just move on.
True.
Just move on to the next. But that's okay. That's okay. Again, I've learned to take criticism better than that. Thank you. Oh, and before we continue, I would just like to remind everyone to please subscribe to our YouTube channel. Subscribe here. We're here at Romance Class on YouTube. So hit subscribe and also the bell so you can be notified if we're going live, which is the thing that we do now. Exciting. Okay. Um, yeah. Anybody else have an answer to that question? The worst
I
thing.
do. The worst.
Yes, Chris.
Like I mentioned earlier, I was writing original fiction. I guess I wrote fan fiction after I'd actually been part of this well-known writers workshop where they take your work and then they comment. Your peers comment, your mentors comment, and after that, I thought that I was prepared for anything. Um, but with fan fiction, there's one particular fic in a for a small well, not small, but for an anime called Scride. It's not as popular as Naruto or Full Metal Alchemist or One Piece. But so I was writing for this particular for this particular fandom, and somebody had commented on my word choice and the decisions that the characters made during the fic, in the fic, and I sat down. It was well. I actually read it again, the comment, and I realized it was not as damaging as I thought it was when I was younger. But I remember clearly at that time I had sat down. I was ready. I was not going to start a flame war, but I was ready to reply and respond to this person, and I wrote down my response, and then I stopped and deleted everything. And that was when I started subscribing to the 72-hour rule. The 72-hour rule. Like, if it doesn't matter after 72 hours, then okay, you can live with it. But I just so clearly remember writing everything I felt. I wanted to refute each and every point, and then I just stopped myself and and deleted my own comment. I mean, didn't post my own comment, but I never wrote for that fandom again. But I treasure that memory. I do, because it really helped me kind of like deal with negative criticism and negative feedback. Not everyone's going to not everyone's going to like what you write. Um, and I learned that in both my real life and in the fanfic world. The only, I guess, the beauty to the fanfic world is that I was anonymous. I was writing behind the screen. Nobody could associate this turn of phrase with the person. But yeah, it really did impact me as a writer, and I've kind of like learned. So like now, if I get not so stellar feedback, I just take it as it is. Okay lang. Yeah, that's it.
Thank you, Chris. Anyone have anything to share about the worst author feedback or comment you received?
For me, it's like that. Like, I think the worst
Yes,
thing.
Carla.
This is something I don't do anymore because of that person. I don't read reviews of my book anymore, especially on Goodreads, because people there can be so vicious. Like, I think the person commented that the characters in my book don't have chemistry, and after that, I doubled down on fanfiction because it was so, like, for me personally, it was kind of easier to go into the minds of the characters when the history was already established for me. So it's kind of like the opposite of Mina's thing where I have a hard time world building. I really just like, waddling in the pool of what's already existing. So, because of that comment on my original fic, I found myself writing more fanfic. So, and that's why I kind of recommended that you do both at the same time, because one really enriches the other in a sense. Because I wrote original fic, I got better at writing fanfic. Because I wrote fanfic, I'm better at writing original fic. So they fed into each other. But I don't read Goodreads reviews anymore. So you live and you learn.
Got it. I understand. Okay. So if no one has anything to add, let's move on to the next question. Not that it's easier. Next
Oh
question.
God.
Next question, please. What do you think of question? What do you think of real person slash fix?
Guys, for legal reasons, I will step away.
I think. I mean, I've read. My answer is that I've read them. They were interesting. Also, an interesting like study into like, because I feel like it's almost like a character, like the persona
Yes.
of the we're dealing with personas. We're dealing with like an image. Uh, the problem is, I guess, when where the lines are, but uh, that's interesting to me. But the thing though that the thing that I've picked up from just considering this and knowing that it exists is in real life when I meet people and I talk to them for research for my book, anything they say to me about their real life, I automatically strike out from my book. It's, I go the opposite way almost immediately. Like if somebody says like I if I do research and somebody says this is uh this is the thing that this is a thing that this person really does, or the thing that this that has really happened to them, I suddenly have to remove it from my fiction. So what is real person slash fic, sorry. I guess it's like does someone have a ready definition for it?
Um, our real let's
RPF versus
RPF lang muna. Wag mo na yung slash fic.
Okay.
RPF first. RPF, I guess, it's fan fiction based on celebrities, i.e., real people. So it's real people fanfic, RPF. Real person slash fix is gay.
Okay.
Real person slash fic is like yeah,
in one word.
in one word, gay. So yeah, that's it. That's the simplest
I think
definition you can find. I think. So it's
so.
just it's making real people gay in your fanfic.
Thank you for the question. Okay, if no one will respond or will choose to respond, I will suggest that we talk about this in the Discord. So if you want to join the Romance Class Discord server, you can DM Romance Class BKS on Twitter and ask for an invite. And we can discuss that there with
I will respond.
links. With links and everything and more discussion. So if you're not a member yet, check out our Discord server. Next question, please. How did your reading taste and writing style evolve through the years because of fan fiction?
Habit na nga ba eh.
Well, my answer is I do. It's been mentioned a few times that and also in the chat that enemies to lovers is a or hate to love is a popular fan fiction trope, and that's carried over. Yes, in my reading taste, my reading list on any given year is mostly enemies to lovers, hate to love, some sort of banter, but also affected by. But it was probably because I like X Files, and then because I like what reading that in fic, and it also affected what I read. So yeah, Yes, definitely. I think I'm just reading. I think I look at the book. They were talking before about promoting books with like tags, fanfic style tags, right? That really resonated with me because sometimes a blurb doesn't, a description of the book doesn't do it for me. I need to know. I need to know what the tropes are. Please be clear about that. And I can decide reading this new book by an author I'd never read before based on that. I really will. So, anyone else?
I can for me the my writing style um has evolved through the years through fan fiction, mainly because I think, and my best friends can attest to this. I read fan fiction every day, like every day. I cannot stress that enough. You cannot take fan fiction out of me. I'd rather write fan fiction than original fiction. That's me. Um, and I think my style has evolved. Fan fiction, I think, is the voice in my head. You know, every time I'm writing something um, that's for my real life, my original fiction. I think about how my favorite fanfic writers, for instance, would do this. I'd look at the scene that I'm writing, think that it's very clinical, and then I just kind of like refer back to the voice I've developed because of all the fan fiction that I've been reading, and I take that um and then make the scene, write the scene as best as I can. A lot of it, I'll, I guess if you read my fiction and if you like my fiction, um, I would say that maybe the things that you like about how I write is something that can always kind of attribute to fan fiction. That's it.
Thank you, Chris.
Um,
Yes,
Yes,
she.
please.
as far, no, as far as my reading taste, I don't think a lot has changed. But if it's my writing style, I used to write primarily just RPF slash in
Yes.
yes,
Yes.
connected to the question before this. That was
Yes.
most of what I wrote when I was younger, circa 2007 to 2010. I wrote mostly slash RPF. And then I don't know why. Like looking back at it now, I don't why I don't know. And then eventually, I think I moved on when we started the Spark NA was the first time that I started to write outside of slash RPF slash. It was a very difficult adjustment, but I think it was I was lucky enough to have gone to that point with romance class, and then now I'm back to writing gay things. So, but it's the gay things that I relate to, because before I mostly wrote like MM or two guys, the type of slash RPF that I wrote before, and then now I'm bisexual, guys. Okay, so I'm trying to write gay things that I can relate to now. I'm not trying to pretend that I know what's going on between two guys. I still read them though. I love them. I still love them. But like I can't write slash RPF anymore for some reason. Even though I still enjoy reading that type of thing. There you go.
Thank you, Chi.
I'll make it bastos. Wow.
Well, yes, Carla.
Come on, we need this toss. Let's go.
Okay. When I started writing original fic, I did not think that I would be into writing sex. Like I did not think it would happen. But then it happened. I think
Look, do you have here?
Look who we have here. And I think it's primarily fanfiction's fault. I think the physical, like, how do I explain this? Like the way fic authors write PWP or plot. What plot? They're just gonna have sex. There are certain fandoms where it works really well with when they do PWP, and that's where I sort of learned how to write smut. Because yeah, which parts do you explain, which parts are important, which parts are not important, like the dialogue while it's happening, all of that I learned from fan fiction. So um, but yeah, it was very informative, especially for someone who didn't know.
Informative.
Yes.
Emphasis on informative.
Yes, informative. This is a very positive environment.
We love
Thank you.
lemons in this house.
We love lemons in this house, indeed.
What is a lemon?
We,
And
we,
then
Oh,
we have to define that.
oh, that's a long definition. We were just talking about it earlier.
Yeah.
only because you brought it up. Now you have to explain it.
Do I read the explanation, Doc? I have it. I'm gonna do that. We were talking
Yeah.
about because Doc shared something earlier. Okay, here we go. The term was originally specific to the anime fanfiction community, although by the early middle 2000s, it had spread to other fandoms as an alternative to just calling something porn or smut. The origin of the term is obscure, but the most common etymology traces it back to the classic hentai anime series Cream Lemon, by way of an early mailing list for publishing erotic anime fanfic called the Lemon List in its honor. So the term derives from the idea that, like a lemon, sexuality looks beautiful and alluring, but when you experience it more directly, it's bitter and sour.
I like that definition.
We were
Thank you.
saying why.
Well, what's the source of this, please?
This was from fanlore.org/wiki/lemon. You can go there.
Thank you so much. I am from a different platform that discussed those levels in a different way. I think I think it was before this classification, so I'm glad it was explained to me. Thank you so much.
And it's different. It's also the terms are different now. Like
Exactly. Yeah.
children are defining it differently.
I know.
The
Before it was like
city no longer
NC-17 and then now it's
exists.
explicit. You know, it's
Explicit, yeah. NSFW.
And if you go to mostly Philippine spaces online, they use MTRCB classifications.
Very helpful.
They
no.
use local TV rating and classification, so there's that also. if you actually experience all of that and read all of that, but I guess when you visit that space, you know what they're talking about. Anyone else have an answer?
I've been thinking about the answer to this question, and I think through the years, how my reading tastes and writing style evolved through fan fiction is that I learned to acknowledge that it's okay to enjoy what you're reading, to what you're writing for that matter, and because fan fiction, even when it's enjoyable, even when it talks about things that are supposedly not deep enough, can still be meaningful. And I think fan fiction has helped me through the years also to cope with some things. So, and I think that's what fan fiction has taught me, that all forms of reading, all literature is meaningful, even when other people don't say it is.
Thank you, Celestine. That's cool. Yes. I think we're ready. Are we ready for the next question? Has everyone shared? I think, yeah, we've
Yeah,
shared.
go.
Yeah. Next question, please. Oh, wow.
Oh,
In your opinion, are Mary Susan's self inserts valid in fic?
I'm
Okay, I have
ready.
an answer because
Okay.
I kept mentioning this earlier on that I actually was affected by it by having so much of what I had written in fanfic to be apparently Mary Sue, and that there was a lot of like criticism about it just as a concept, and of course a lot has been written about that since then, and people people are picking up what and deciding how they feel about it. But years later, I realized that I should not have been hard on myself for writing
yeah.
that. I should not
Oh,
have. I should not have. I should not have been defensive, and it's not that I, again, like Chris was saying, it's not like I was writing comments and responding to to comments at all. It was more internally, like in my head, in the way that you kind of think of things when you hear criticism, and sort of step back and realize that wait, I had done like the most basic thing. What? Like and and later I realized, it was that a bad thing? Uh, was that a bad thing? Yeah, so we have a comment. This realization from Saberkite. This realization is what made me stop referring to it as a guilty pleasure. Actually, yeah. I mean, of course, we can't generalize. As with everything, some people are doing what they're doing, and I can only speak for myself. But I realized later, later, that I should not have been hard on myself for exploring my writing in that way, and like carry on. If you're-
do what you
carry
want.
on past
Yeah.
me. I should have told myself it's okay past me. Keep doing that.
I also had to work up from because I was taught to side eye Mary Sue's also early on, like even before fanfic. Just when I started reading, I don't know. At some point, I just felt like the concept of the Mary Sue was created by the patriarchy,
Exactly.
Yes.
so that girls will
Yes.
assume that
Right.
someone liking them needs to be justified. Like they
Yeah.
need to justify to other people why this person or many people like them. I hate that so much.
Yeah.
But yeah, I had to work up to that. Like I had to realize at some point that I need to stop trying to make it seem like these female characters in the stuff I'm reading or the stuff I'm watching can't be all the best. Like that they can't be the best that they can be, and that these guys need a reason for to like this female character. I don't know. It's I like I said, I had to work up to that because early on I was also side eyeing Mary Sue's, but at this point
Yeah.
I don't care anymore. I hate the patriarchy.
Don't you just love it when there are gatekeepers everywhere telling you what is valid and what's not valid?
So it's not
Right?
valid. Correct.
It's so lovely.
I know exactly. I really
Amazing.
feel that you're like what she said. I feel like Mary Sue's are just conveniently trotted out to keep female characters in check, but suddenly when it's a
Yeah.
guy character, when it's a male character, suddenly it's a
Totally
stuck
agree.
character. Suddenly this
Yeah.
is a Bildungsroman. Nobody goes, "Hey, David Copperfield is a Gary Stu." Nobody does that. But we do it for female characters, and we do it to each other as well. And I'm sorry, and
Yeah.
I'm no, I'm sorry if I've ever contributed to that kind of thinking, and I'm sorry that people are still subscribing to
Same.
that kind of thinking.
Yeah.
But for me, they're all valid. Self inserts, Mary Sue,
Right.
they're valid. They're fanfiction. Yeah.
Also,
Yes, do what
I
you
just
want. Oh my god.
yeah. And like can you imagine like we're so critical of female characters and how they deserve their love interests. But then you see all these movies or all these things where this gorgeous, completely capable woman is paired with some
The worst guy ever. Yes.
unwashed,
Some guy who's the bare
mediocre
minimum.
guy.
Who doesn't even bother. Like,
Right, we make it make sense. Why are we doing this? We're so critical of Mary Sue's or Manic Pixie Dream Girls. Manic Pixie Dream Girls, by the way, it's not their fault. Their writers made them
Made
plot
them-
devices for the guys to find themselves. Okay, it's not their fault. Let's calm down and just let people enjoy things.
I think
And that's
especially in
something-
the early days, like it was also a function of not a lot of girl characters in general were in the fandom that you were enjoying. Like especially YuYu Hakusho, there was literally only like Botan to pair with anyone else.
Shizuru. Sorry.
Yeah, those two characters, and that's all you get. And I'm not expected to make my own character be a little bit more like myself. I can be with Kurama, please. Like,
Yes, let's go. Go.
let me
I
have
want that.
Kurama. God.
Fun.
I was gonna say that was something that we were dealing with, right, in romance class. Like suddenly all like so many writers writing original romance stories, and then like bringing all this baggage from everywhere.
Oh no.
And it's not a perfect process, that's true. So Layla is in the comments saying it's so normalized. Damning unlearning that we need to do. And still it's still there actually. So the thing that's why it's built in if you join this community, that you have several people read your manuscript before you publish it, because we all have our baggage. Sometimes it's different baggage, and it helps that somebody gets to point out maybe there are things that we can leave behind, and yeah, so we need that. We still need that today, totally. Yeah, but I think the practice that a lot of people get when they're allowed to write those kinds of characters is that they really get to practice because they're allowed. And if we don't write them, we don't get to practice. We don't. If we sort of self reject or we block ourselves from the very beginning, then we don't get to practice. We don't get to see the feedback and all of it. Yeah. Anything else you want to add? Daming thoughts.
Daming feelings. I'm so
Daming
sorry.
feelings. Daming opinions.
And somebody in the comments, Paula Apollonio says, a male character being greeted things is a protagonist, and a female character being greeted things is a Mary Sue.
Is
I
also a
remember-
protagonist.
Yeah, she's also a protagonist. I remember when the Star Wars sequel trilogy came out, one of the criticisms against Rey, the main character of the story, is that
Oh
she's
my
a
gosh.
Mary Sue. How can she just learn about the Force? What are you talking about?
What
The
did
same
Luke
thing happened to Luke Skywalker.
To Luke, yes.
And we're just supposed to believe it. Like, okay, what's the difference? Rey is a girl. That's the only difference. Okay.
So many things.
Yeah. Let girls be girls and do what they want. Ah.
So many things. Okay, are we ready for the next question?
Okay.
Okay, next
Getting
question.
intense.
What are your favorite ship dynamics?
Pwede
Well,
na dito ipasok yung mga hindi nasama
Yeah.
kanina doon sa troop.
Yeah. He
Sige.
wants to go through a list.
Chris can go through her list first na. So
you
Yeah.
can say yes or no or yes or no.
No, my list kasi so my list is a list of all the tropes that I really enjoy. But like I mentioned earlier, I like it when the characters know each other from a different setting, and then outside of the relationship, outside of the romance. So those are the things that I like. I like when they do a slow burn, enemies to friends to
God.
lovers, or enemies friends
slow burn. Sorry.
enemies to lovers to friends. Either way works for me. I like I like weird. I wouldn't say weird. No, I like everything is valid, Chris. Remember that. But yeah, I like the Pride and Prejudice AUs. I like that dynamic going on. Um, and there are other things actually I've discovered through fan fiction that were, I guess, that came out more recently, if I can say that. At least when not when I was reading or when I was really really active in on fanfiction.net. These were, or at least in my fandom, these were things that I was familiar with. But one of the other dynamics that I actually kind of look for these days is a trope on AO3 that they call soul identifying marks.
Ah,
And this is
yes!
when you've got
Chris!
soulmates
Oh my god, Chris,
and they
yes!
meet each other and they've got marks on their bodies identifying each
Soulmate
other as
AU.
soulmates.
Soulmate
And
AU,
it's just
yes!
right. I feel like this is such a new thing. I mean, back
I
in the
love it so much.
late 90s and the 2000s, there wasn't something that made you call out to that other person and then you see a mark on their skin. And like I just like that so much.
I'm so sorry. I'm so stressed because I love Soulmate AU. Red string of fate. Red string of fate fix. Stuff like that. Oh my god. Anyway, sorry, carry on.
Yeah, go ahead.
Go
No, no,
ahead.
no. That was it. That was it. My soulmate AU, the soul
Oh, I love
identifying
that.
marks tag.
I
That's
sorry, I read one
that's my
where
new.
where they can smell, like they know the smell. I'm like, I'm so stressed.
Is it ABO, girl? Is it
That's
ABO,
ABO.
girl?
No, it's the soulmate AU. It's a mark. Stop. Let's carry on.
The, the one I read was tattoos of flowers that appear on their skin and it has to match like the other person's. And then
Oh
they were
yes.
both ballerinas. She couldn't cover hers. Oh my
I know that
god.
thing. Oh my gosh, that was the best.
Wait.
I know you read this.
That was an amazing fic. It's called In
Super.
Bloom by Celia End.
Yeah, and yes. It was so good.
Wait, this one that Paula Apollonio mentioned in the comments, the one Tumblr post where you don't see color until you see your soulmate. Yes, yes.
Oh my. Yes,
I have
yes,
read
yes.
so many from all my different ships of this where they see black and white until they meet their soulmate, and I just give me more. Okay, sorry. I'm so healing.
Anything else?
And yeah,
What's your other ship dynamics?
mine is like I said, I like angst. so hurt, comfort, mutual pining, unresolved sexual tension, also stuff like that. The ones I read usually occur in, yes, again, soulmate AUs, coffee shop AUs. I don't care if you think I'm basic. I love coffee shop AUs. Coffee shop AUs and college AUs. I love those things. I'm so sorry. And then I also like mafia AUs. I read a lot of mafia AUs and
Yes.
hybrid AUs, which I don't know if anyone's familiar. Should I explain?
Go.
Hybrid AUs is where it's not like werewolves and stuff like that. Hybrid AUs are more like human and animal. No, not shifters. They're like a hybrid of a human and an animal. They're more like domesticated, so like pets. Sorry.
I think I'm thinking
You know,
Is that clear?
I need to end my explanation there, but you get the point. Hybrid AU. And then like as far as like straight up ship dynamic, Sun Moon, I mentioned it earlier, the Sun Moon ship dynamic where there's this super bright person and then this other one who's a bit more gloomy or broody. I love that. Better if the sun is shorter. And the moon is very tall. You know, things like that. We love that. We love that.
Yeah.
Those are my favorite ship dynamics. Yeah. The usual enemies to lovers, of course, we always get there. But Yeah, that's me.
Thank you. Does anyone have anything else to add? I'm liking the art that's created out of like illustrating the ship dynamics because when I see it I go, you're right. That's
That's
often
exactly what
it's
it
often my reaction. Yes, exactly that. Thank
Bridge,
you.
it's not furries. It's not a costume. Bridge is not a costume. They're like actual hybrid human animal type thing. Different. But I don't mind furries, Ayer. Give me something. Share it with me.
Anything else? Any other ship dynamics that you can share? Hey, if not, we can move on to the last question from that we've pre-selected. Next question, please. What are the common mistakes newbie artists or authors, I guess, make writing fanfic? Okay, first off, we said everyone's valid. Explore, explore your, explore your
whatever you
things.
want.
Yeah,
Oh,
explore your. But is there something that actually stands out that maybe you would say do it this way?
For me, I'm actually a pantser. And when I was writing fan fiction, it wasn't you didn't necessarily need to have a beta. Although I do understand that a lot of the fics I'm reading now, or a lot of the people I see online, do have betas before they post. My thing though is that I think it's okay if you don't have one, but I guess my um I'd recommend it if you would research about whatever it is you're writing about. And it doesn't have to show in your writing, but I think that a fic that's not well researched, or at least um, um, it shows, and sometimes it kind of turns me off as a reader. Just recently, I read a photography um, a fic that took place in a photography studio where the professional photographer was holding the shoot for like th- it was a studio shoot, but they were doing it for 5 days. They had no pegs, or at least he did not want to follow the pegs. He had no contact sheets, and it just turned me off. um, do the basics, I guess. And it's not just if you're writing something that was very particular to an industry, but research about your fandom as well. I think that's a common mistake that I see with the newer ones.
Yeah, and
Thank you, Chris.
related to that, I was thinking that most of the fandoms that we'll be writing for are from cultures different from yours.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that research also on the original culture where these fandoms came from. Especially that's what I was thinking when I was writing before for anime fandoms. So it takes a bit of research because you sometimes a mistake that you can make is to assume that what is okay for your particular culture also applies to that. So
Yeah.
to the culture that you're writing. So it's pretty much also just like writing original fiction. You do the research.
Mm. It's
Thank
like
you,
reading a
Celestine.
it's like reading a
Yes.
Doctor Who fanfic and then everyone speaking American English versus British English. I remember when I was in the Doctor Who fandom, there'd be these people who would offer to Brit pick your fanfic. So
Mhm.
they would essentially better read your fic to make sure it's British enough for Doctor Who. And that was interesting to me because oh nga pala, Doctor Who is British like and I'm not British. So there are some of these things that you don't pick up even if you are part of the fandom. Sometimes it's a cultural thing, so you do have to research that in particular. Uh, Other common mistakes, I really think it's half the battle in fan fiction is keeping the characters in character, no matter where you put them. Like they still have to be recognizable.
Mhm.
Yes, in Final Fantasy fan fiction in particular. I don't know why, but when the author describes characters wearing different clothes from what they wear in the game, that confuses me. I can't picture it because it's for me like no, they have to wear the same outfit that they wear in the game, or else it's not them anymore. So yeah, you just have to remember like what lines are in terms of each character that you're writing, and then it's fair game. Like do whatever you want.
Anyone else have a tip for newbies or people who are starting to write fanfic? I have a question pala. Just now thinking of like how when we write established characters that are not Filipino, because we're all Filipino. Is there a fandom of that originated as a Filipino property or intellectual property, and you have people who are not Filipino writing it? Like, have you ever been on the other side? Filipino picking something? Has that happened? Is that happening somewhere? So,
I guess we'll
'cause
see
I
that
think-
with Tres, eh? Now that
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
right.
Yeah.
It's our time to shine.
No, that's
It's
not
our
what we
time
do.
to shine. Oh my God,
You're
if they
right.
get the kambal wrong,
Suddenly,
I'm coming with my hands. Gonna get my hands.
we get
Oh,
to we
nga.
get.
It's our
Kasi-
time to shine.
I think because there are lots of. I just wanted to say that pretty much any fandom, there's so many Filipino writers of fanfic. I see that. I see that all the time. Okay, we have a comment from the chat from Tara Frejas. Baka merong ang probinsyano fanfic somewhere.
First of all, Provinciano itself is already a fanfic at this point. It's been running so long. It's its own fanfic. Okay, it doesn't fanfic
of
anymore.
itself.
Fanfic. I can't believe.
I actually, now that I'm thinking about it, I'm actually curious because I'm thinking maybe one of the popular BL series have
Right.
I
Probably,
haven't. I haven't
right.
checked, but they probably do. I should check.
I will
Oh gosh,
look
do you
this
want to
up.
check? It's a
I have an
question.
assignment and a curiosity. I have a mission to
I'm-
look up what's going on. But just being aware of Filipinos, so many Filipinos being part of this community of writers. From Denise in the comments, feeling ko di malayo mangyari, especially with SB19. And how do you say that? I'm sorry.
Bagyo.
Bagyo. Bagyo fan.
But it's BGYO.
BGYO. I'm sorry because I'm Pinoy. I'll say Bagyo.
I also say Bagyo, but yes, guys, support SB19 stream what? Thank you.
They just dropped their album, right?
Yeah, it's yeah.
Pearl Next Door fanfic, please. Leila
Agree,
says.
agree. Fix it,
Yeah.
fix
BG
the Pearl
see,
next door.
fix it,
Yes.
Apparently, it's BGYO.
Fine, I've been corrected. Thank you so much from Denise. The
BGYO.
pronunciation is BGYO. Yes.
BGYO.
But we are trying to support also our own stuff, and within like we're supporting our own original fiction and original content and original art, music, movies, and also possibly and joining that community, writing fanfic for it, and just enriching the experience.
I'm so stressed by the comments. Okay, I'm so stressed right now. I'm so stressed. I agree, but also I'm stressed.
So there's a
Oh,
question:
right.
what if there are fics of romance class books from Denise? I am actually aware of a
Some.
fic, not of a book, but of the
Allegedly.
people.
The people.
Yeah.
Yes,
We have picked from the Summer Crush girls of their own characters.
so there's levels of so there was a question that if there are fics of romance class, and actually there the authors are writing sort of fanfic of each other's book.
Other.
Those
That's
probably
true.
count as grabbles, right? And then and then uh and then there is somewhere out there a fic that I saw because I have alerts for certain things. That yes, Tara in the comments has defined it. It's live reader fic. It involves real people involved in the
RPF,
romance
baby.
class community.
I see.
RPF, baby.
Baby.
It is. It is. But that's because I think it's a very Pinoy thing to write fanfic. If the world is not aware, this is a thing that we do. Yeah, so we've gone through all of the questions that were selected from Twitter. We can continue the discussion on Discord, but is there anything? I think we have time for a few more questions from the chat uh, that we can pick up right now. Otherwise, we can go on forever talking about all
True.
the topics
So many
related to
things
fan
we have not
fiction. But
even
Yeah.
thank
touched
you so
yet.
much. Thank you so much to everyone in the chat. And if you feel validated hearing about our secret and now not so secret histories with fanfic, please know that yes, we've been there. And actually in different fandoms and going about it in different ways. So it's okay if you're part of the romance cast community and also write fanfic and feel that you needed to hide it.
Don't. Let
Don't.
me
Please
know.
don't
Send us links.
share.
Yes,
Send
We
links.
don't even have to know that you
we'd
wrote
love
it.
to read them.
Oo.
I'd really love to think that fan fiction is a safe space. So if you feel that you aren't validated, well, we're here to help validate you. I think what I really like about fan fiction is there's something for everyone, but it's so specific to this fandom that you already love, and it's really an extension of this thing that, if you go by canon, has a definite beginning and a definite end. But here are your fanfic writers telling you, wait lang, it's not the end. You can stay here and we can enjoy this world and we can enjoy this safe space together. So
Yeah.
yeah, I think if you ever feel that you need validation from somebody for liking something that somebody has called a guilty pleasure, you can hit us up anytime.
We come with Rex. Long list of Rex.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and that's
I have
precisely it.
ebook downloaded from AO3, guys. Come on.
Yes. The
And that's
best thing about AO3 is that you can download
Download.
Dango
Yes.
literally
and I
every
think
night.
the cool thing about us planning this panel is and that's why I had people our guests talk about what fandoms they were part of and that they read is you'll hear the range of it. It's a lot.
A
It's
lot.
all over. It's not and I think what's fascinating is it's not primarily coming from one country or like based on the media of one country. It's actually a range. So because of what we're exposed to as Filipinos, it's a lot of things, and I think that means we get influenced um, in all the ways. So I think we actually have a question that we would like to go back to before we head over to questions in the chat. So which tropes are you currently into? Does the ship fandom you read affect which tropes you like?
Yes.
Does someone have an answer? Yes.
Yes. Like I think I mentioned it earlier, but I'm currently reading Zutara fic, and for Zutara in particular, I like an arranged marriage, and I like when the author kind of frames it as a royal romance because I love a royal romance, and yeah, and that particular trope or ship doesn't that particular trope wouldn't work in another ship, especially let's say Final Fantasy VII, there's no royal like there's no way something like that can happen in terms of canon. And for that fandom in particular, I like it when it's canon lang. But then I don't know why it changes, but for me, depending on which fandom, it does change my the trope that I am into. So yes, the answer is yes.
Thank you,
I
Carla.
I think in general, coffee shop AU like applies to every fandom, but
Yes.
as far coffee shop, I'm sorry, I'm a fan. Like coffee shop AU, college AU, stuff like that apply in every. But I think when it comes to like angst or angst, the level of heat, fluff, I do get specific with what I read, depending on the fandom. But I don't know, I just read everything, I guess. I don't know. I can't explain it better. Carry on.
Yeah, I think with what Carla was saying is that there are some characters, depending on what their personalities are like or what their dynamics are like, also would really determine the tropes that are appropriate for them. For example,
Mm.
there are certain characters who are enemies to lovers would be not cool, but there are
Yeah.
characters, especially when they're polar opposites, then that's where it's really exciting to have enemies to lovers. So yeah, I think it's more, and also the fandom itself, like the original universe where they came from. For example, if it's already an angsty universe, then angst, hurt, comfort would be perfect for that. But then
Yeah.
but then fluff would not be. So I
Yeah.
think it's just that.
Like if there's canon mutual pining vibes, you're getting angst immediately. Angst, just go to angst
Yes.
directly.
Yeah.
But if they're like very chill, I don't know, it's weird. It's weird sometimes. It depends on the fandom na talaga.
Okay. Anyone else with their tropes you're currently into? Okay. So I'd just like to remind everyone to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Thank you so much. Click subscribe and also hit the bell so you can be notified when we go live. We will have a premiere video like usually a few days before or a week before, and you can get notified. Ideally, the ideal situation is you will get notified when we have a new video out. So thank you for that. Let's go to a question from the comments. From Tara Frejas, what's your most popular fic?
Oh
You don't
God.
have to reveal where it is if you don't want to. And what's the story like?
I can go. I can take this. I
Yes,
guess my
Go for
most
it.
Chris, go Chris.
it's weird because of fanfiction.net, I don't know if they still have, or if they already have like a views count the way AO3
AO3.
does. I'm
Yeah.
not quite sure. I haven't been there in a while. But there's one fic that I wrote that was kind of meta and was it was a almost like a tribute to uh a fanfic to a character in canon, to a canon character. And I th- I picked it up from a fanfic writer for X Files, and she had an our Molders and our Scullies kind of like meta tribute fic, and it talked about all the things that we as fanfic writers do um to our characters, you know, the fanon um that comes into play, and that's the and I took that idea. I asked permission from the original writer. I took that and I did it for Rurouni Kenshin, and that kind of took off, that so that other writers started writing specific tribute fics for those, for their favorite characters. And I'm calling that my most popular fic only because it finds itself in a footnote um on is it was it what's that site that you went to earlier? Fanlore. But there's a fan fiction Wikipedia, and it's there as a little footnote. So that's my most popular, I
Wow.
guess, fic.
Wow.
Okay.
That means you've made
I
Yeah.
know.
True.
I
Footnote
know.
lang. Footnote lang.
Congratulations.
Right. Even so.
I have an answer for that, but it's not, again, it's relatively not as popular. But it got like the the last fanfic that I posted got the most like comments that were sincere and not bots or not people who were commenting on your story, so you would follow them back. And,
Oh my god.
but it was after a particularly bad season of the series I was writing, and I wrote like a fix it for the finale. And there were people, or at least for what happened to one character, and there were people who were like genuine. I felt that the comments were genuine. I felt that I felt that they were like, thank you for writing this, because like the character didn't receive that kind of justice in the episode. So someone's asking, drop the series. Paula in the comments is saying, drop the series. So I only wrote for two series. It's Buffy and Angel. So this one in particular was an Angel. A bad season of Angel. You will know what that is if you watched Angel.
Oh, I think I know.
So anyway, I wrote like after the, because that's my thing, it was like between seasons, so I wrote like a better ending, I think, for a character that didn't get a good one that season. And I got some really like touching feedback, and I feel that's like my most successful one in that phase of my writing life. Okay, anyone else have something to
It's
share?
we didn't have like specific counters for in live journal before, so I don't know, but I did do a remix fic. We did these things before where we remix an existing popular fic. We exchange fics that we remix for each other. I think that did well, but if it's something that I can quantify, I guess the one I mentioned, the last hysteric fic that I wrote, that's still getting kudos to this day.
Wow.
Drop the link.
Yeah, it
Drop.
was like from years. It was from years ago, but it's still getting kudos to this day. It's Styles basically went on vacation, on a solo vacation, to the UK, and Derek is a royal guard. Um, that's all I need it. I need it now. That's all. That's all. Yeah, I think that because it's still getting kudos. I wrote it years ago, and I still get email notifications about kudos to this fic. So I guess as far as something that I can quantify, I think it's that Derek fanfic. Yeah.
Yes.
Congratulations.
Congrats, girl.
Thank you.
Ako, I just checked my AO3 stats. 'Cause I don't know which one in particular, but apparently my most popular fic is for some
Yes.
reason Regency stories are kind of a hit in the Raylo fandom. And mine is a retelling of Tessa Dare's Any Duke Will Do.
Damn, man. So there's fanfic. There's really fanfic of books, talaga.
Yes. Yes.
They
Yes. Yes.
There's
So,
fanfic of
so
books.
yeah, the one I wrote in particular is a retelling of a Tessa Dare book called Any Duke Will Do. Except I made it a lot shorter and I made it less sad and more sex. So yeah, and I was actually surprised that a lot of people in the comments were saying that, oh, I think I've read this book before. Like, and I mentioned specifically, like in an author's note, that what what book in particular it's copying. It's not copying. It's inspired by, and people recognized it in the comments just based on the way I wrote it. So it was funny, and because having never written historical romance before in fanfic, it works apparently. So there.
Thank you, Carla. Anyone else with a best fic to share?
I think my most popular fic came from Naruto. I mean, that's the last big fandom I had, and it's actually the most wholesome fic I've ever written.
Oh.
It's a Naruto Hinata fic. No, I mean really. I mean, I was writing it. Sometimes when I write fanfics, I put a lot of effort into them. I plot the stories, but that story I think I wrote in one sitting, because it was just something that I wanted to write. It was very fluffy. It's Naruto Hinata. It's about Naruto being bothered because Hinata always gave him the best presents, and he couldn't give her the best present, and he tried
Oh.
beating her. Beating her at giving gifts like that. So it was like a competition for him. But then it ends with Hinata telling him that she's pregnant, so it was the best gift ever. So there, that's the most popular pick I have.
Ang soft naman
it's
nun.
yeah, it's very soft.
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 And it still is, I think, the one that got the most comments to this day.
All the hearts.
So soft.
So we are going to take just two more questions. And we have a comment from our friend Gio Gahol, apparently. Hi, Gio.
Hi.
Mina,
Ay,
I
Mina lang
always
pala,
imagine another storyline for either characters that deserve better character development or characters that were unfairly written off or ignored. Haha. Yes. Yes, we feel
There's a
it.
follow-up comment.
Yeah. Follow-up comment
Imagine
is,
lang though. I can't write fanfic.
the beginning is writing it in your head.
Yes!
And sometimes it's
Exactly.
enough.
It is believing that they deserve better than this. And then the writing comes later. Thank you for the comment, Gio.
Thanks, Gio.
Next question. Okay, two questions na lang. So, thank you, everyone. So, let's start with a question from the Bianca Mori. Have any of you experienced their work being ficked, and how did it feel? I have an answer. It's not exactly my work being fake, but my work was used as the inspiration for a Naruto fanfic. So it was my book that was being it was my book. This is a long time ago, and it was like my only book. But it was my first book, my imaginary ex, existing somewhere as a Naruto fanfic. And it was like 2 or 3 people doing that, like literally taking
Wow.
my book and replacing the names of the characters with their Naruto ship. and and Pinoy. And that's when you know that Pinoys are in your forum, because some people actually said, "Isn't this my imaginary ex by Mina Esguerra?" And the ending of that, I didn't intervene. I didn't do anything about it, but somebody who was reading, who was a fan of their fic, so they were uploading like chapters at a time and not finishing it, and they were getting fans. They were getting these comments, exciting story, thank you, and me reading this.
Oh no!
Thanks, guys.
and
Oh
me
no!
and me reading it is, I'm going, wow, thanks, yes, thank you for thinking my story is exciting. But one of the fans of the fic is a reader from Trinidad and Tobago, and she emailed me and asked for a copy of the book because the fic author, stopped updating and she needed to know how it ended.
Oh man!
And I had to find a way to ship a 150 peso Summit chiclet paperback book to Trinidad and Tobago. But that was like a really interesting experience. And, but yes, that happened. Yes, that
That's
totally
so
happened.
specific. I
That
love
is so
it.
specific. And that's my answer to my that's sort of that but not. Okay.
Oh my god.
I have something
Does
similar
anyone
to
have
what Mina said. It wasn't my work wasn't fic, but it was, I would say, it was plagiarized.
yeah.
So, it was posted again on fanfiction.net, and some readers came and just told me what was happening, and that was it. Yeah. How did it feel? Kind of felt weird. Um, you know what made me actually feel weird about it was that she edited some things, and I was like, no, that was
Oh,
perfect.
Oh
interesting.
no!
Whoa,
Oh
whoa, whoa.
no! Oh
Uh,
no!
So I'm like,
Grabe
no.
yeah.
ka.
No.
But
Terrible.
it was really minor. It was something like I could laugh about. I've had some fics that got translated into other
Oh
languages,
yeah,
but then
there.
you don't know what's. I mean, they've asked permission, so I know. And they would always. I'd still see that there's credit to me. But I don't have any control. I don't know what's being said in a different language,
Yeah.
so I don't feel any.
Did
I
they
mean, it's
experience
kind of
like
weird, yeah. But
did they
it's fine.
experience like give you some like a to-do list, like if ever something would happen, like now you know you would do this, you would do this. Yeah.
No, did anyone give me? Is that your question?
Or
Sorry.
like
Did I
after
find out?
experiencing that, did you feel like okay, next time I will do this when I see someone do that to
No, you know what? I actually
one of
don't
my
know. I
things?
don't know. I didn't give myself like a manual. Oh, this is what I'll do next time. I wish I did. I don't think it's a ever happened again. But it would be nice. If I had kind of like written down what steps I should take if that happens. But at that time, no, I did not. I really this is also coming from me, the person who writes the comments and then deletes it. So um I'm I don't take action. That's my major flaw. So yeah.
I think what I ended up learning at the time is like I don't want to. I kind of think about the position of the other author, so I I kind of want to think that we're in the same boat, and I don't like. I also consume fan fiction and I also write it, and that was like a weird way of taking my work, but at the same time, like she used the same or he used the same title, so
Oh boy.
people actually could find me. It's weird. So that is a weird experience. And yes, I wish that there was some sort of like steps to be taken, because when you're exploring your fan fiction site and nobody knows that you're doing it, it's 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 hard to suddenly say that you're the author or this is happening, and because suddenly you sort of suddenly say that you're there and you're seeing things. So yeah, I wish maybe if there's a publisher involved, they would have gotten uh they would have done something on our behalf, and and it didn't have to be us, right? Yeah. Yeah, did any of you experience your work being ficked, and how did it feel?
Oh, I've never, but I've also had some of my work translated into different languages. But like Chris said, they asked permission. I was given a link to the translation, but I don't understand. So
Okay.
I don't really know if I don't really know if the translation is accurate. I'm not sure if they changed anything, so I don't. Yeah, but never faked. I don't. I've
We
My
might
work has
actually
never been
not
faked.
be looking for it, so it might be someone else who sees it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Most likely.
Yeah.
Most likely. Thank you.
I have fan
Last
art.
question. Oh, you're right.
Oh,
I do
yes.
we do experience that. Thank you so much, and it's really it's very
I love
pleasant.
it.
It's a very pleasant experience. How did it feel? Yeah, mostly it's fun and nice. How about our last question? As we hit our 2 hours and 5 minutes of this broadcast, we will now ask the last questions from Paula. Do you have any preferred website to publish fics and why? So some of you mentioned earlier that you have a recommended site. Can you talk about where you would recommend people publish their fic?
Archive of Our Own. the
Yes.
for now,
Right
the
now,
only,
right now.
the best, the number one, the most valid of the current publishing websites. I think it's mostly because they let you download the fic and you don't have to stay in front of the computer the entire time to read it. You can save it as in multiple formats and download to your Kindle or your phone or whatever. And that has really changed the game for me because I can just read constantly. Like I can constantly be reading fanfic and just downloading new fics and adding to the Kindle. Also think personally that their um, search function is more thorough. It's easier to like filter things there. And what else? Their stats are also very good, like how you can arrange by hits, you can arrange by number of kudos, and that helps, especially when you're trying to search for a particular fic in a particular fandom. So yeah.
I'm echoing Carla's. For a writer, I think it's so much easier to publish on AO3 than it is on other websites. I know I started with fanfiction.net, but I
Yeah.
find that they've lost my formatting over the years, and it's just a one big lump of mess of text.
Agree.
I
Same with
like how
same with
AO3
Time Journal.
actually still keeps this, yeah, your intended format, and it's so much easier to read and publish too, I guess.
Yeah, AO3 also for me. It's the
Yeah,
best. Also,
nice.
like I said,
Superior.
you can download the fix into whatever format you need for your e-reader or your ebook reader. You can download it into EPUB, movie,
PDF. PDF?
PDF. Yeah, PDF.
Not
You can do
text.
that. Yeah, not text, but like it's the best. It's the right now. It's the best, especially in, yeah, like Chris said, formatting wise, it's great. It's very adaptable. It's responsive. It's easy to post. You're not gonna get confused, and the tags are so much fun.
Yeah.
um, but yeah, AO3, our Archive of Our Own is also my recommendation for right now in these times of ours.
Mm.
So
I
far,
also like
so far in agreement.
yeah. And Chris mentioned earlier like epistolary fics. They work in AO3. Like
Yeah,
there's some authors know how to sort of cheat the code of AO3 so that the whole epistolary fic can show up in the page itself instead of going to Twitter and then AO3 and then Twitter again then AO3. And it's so amazing. I think it really did eat fanfiction.net alive when
yeah.
AO3 started itself. And it's a Hugo Award winner now, so she's legit.
Thank you. Okay, so that was our last question. There were many questions, and we passed 2 hours with this discussion, and there's so many more things that we could talk about. Thank you so much to our guests. Thank you, Chi, Carla, Celestine, and Chris. Thank you to everyone who is in the comment section right now, and those who are lurking. You are appreciated.
Yes, if you
Yeah.
wanna talk,
You're
fanfic,
valid.
my DMs are open, guys.
If
Please.
you want to
If you wanna
continue
talk
this
more about fanfic,
discussion, Romance Class has a Discord. You can DM Romance Class BKS on Twitter to ask for an invite. And please subscribe to our YouTube channel, which is killig.pub/YouTube. Hit subscribe and hit the bell to be notified. And also, we have this podcast available pretty much everywhere that you prefer to listen to your podcasts. So definitely subscribe to the Romance Class podcast. We also have a website, romancepodcast.com, and catch up on previous episodes. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank
And
you.
see you at the next episode. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Bye.
Bye.